How are you doing today? So, let's dive into something that's been making a lot of noise lately. Former President Donald Trump's recent claim that Tylenol, one of the most common pain relievers in the world, could be linked to autism when taken during pregnancy. It's a statement that has sparked a storm of debate, worry, and criticism. So today, let's unpack what was actually said, what the science tells us, and what this all means for people just trying to make safe choices. So here's what happened. At a recent press conference, Trump told pregnant women to avoid Tylenol unless absolutely necessary, saying it could increase the risk of autism in their children. He even tied this into vaccines, suggesting that current vaccine schedules might also be part of the problem. And standing right there with him was his health secretary, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who's been vocal for years about questioning mainstream medical guidance. That combination, Trump's platform and Kennedy's long history of skepticism, meant the comments spread like wildfire. But here's the big question. Is there any solid science behind these claims? Now, this is where it gets interesting. There are studies that have looked into whether using acetaminophen during pregnancy could be linked to conditions like autism or ADHD. But the thing is, these are mostly observational studies. That means they can find patterns like women who used Tylenol during pregnancy were slightly more likely to have kids later diagnosed with autism. But, and this is huge, observational studies cannot prove cause and effect. For example, just because ice cream sales and drowning deaths both go up in summer doesn't mean ice cream causes drowning. See the problem? One of the most important studies we have on this comes from Sweden. Researchers followed over 2 million children and found no evidence that Tylenol in pregnancy causes autism. That's about as large and careful a study as you can get. And experts say that if there were a strong, direct causal link, we'd likely have seen clearer signals by now. What's more, there could be all sorts of hidden factors. Maybe the mother had a fever or an infection and took Tylenol. Could the illness itself, or even genetics, play a bigger role than the medicine? These are complicated questions that no single press conference can settle. Medical groups have been quick to respond. The American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists says Trump's advice oversimplifies a very complex issue. They point out that untreated fever in pregnancy can be risky, even dangerous, for both mother and baby. Tylenol is often recommended as one of the safest options when used correctly. And European health agencies say the same thing. There just isn't strong enough evidence to change current guidelines. So, right now, the consensus is that acetaminophen remains safe for use in pregnancy, as long as it's used as directed. But let's think about the ripple effects here. Imagine being a pregnant woman hearing this on TV. Suddenly, you're afraid to take even the mildest pain reliever. You might try to tough it out through a high fever or unbearable pain. But what risks come with that? Could fear itself cause more harm than the medication? This is where communication matters so much. When leaders speak, millions listen. And if those words cause confusion or fear without solid evidence, the consequences can be real. Even within Trump's own party, not everyone agrees. Senator Bill Cassidy, who is also a doctor, openly said the evidence doesn't support Trump's claim. He even asked the administration to release whatever data they're relying on. Scientists and health officials are frustrated because they feel this could push people away from safe medical practices and create stigma around autism, suggesting it's something that could be prevented with the right choices, which is misleading and unfair. At the same time, we can't ignore why these claims resonate. For some people, there's already distrust in public health institutions, especially after the pandemic. Trump and Kennedy tapping into that skepticism gives their words extra weight. But that raises a question for us. Should scientific debates be led by politicians, or should we insist on hearing first from scientists and doctors who dedicate their lives to this research? Here's what I'd like you to think about. When you hear a claim that sounds dramatic, especially about something as personal as pregnancy and autism, how do you decide what to believe? Do you trust the person who says it, or do you go looking for the evidence yourself? And if you're a parent, how would you balance the fear of unknown risks with the advice of medical experts? For now, the bottom line is this. There is no scientific consensus that Tylenol causes autism. That doesn't mean researchers should stop studying it. Science is always evolving, and asking tough questions is part of progress. But making sweeping statements without clear evidence risks doing more harm than good. And in a world already full of anxiety and uncertainty, the last thing we need is misinformation adding to the burden. So, what do you think? Should leaders be more careful before making medical claims, or is it good to challenge the system, even if the science isn't settled? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this breakdown helpful, don't forget to hit that like button, share this video with someone who might be curious about the story, and subscribe so you don't miss future uploads. Stay safe, stay informed, and I'll catch you in the next one.